Good morning, you gorgeous humans. Does dressing gowns ready? Dressing gown crew. Can you feel the change in season? It feels a bit autumnal, doesn't it? I'm happy to get my dressing gown out, to be honest with you. Welcome to What the Feminine with me, Abby Adams, speaker, mentor, founder of Project Woman, slightly obsessed with the creative side of feminine health. And just really wanting to feel into, at this phase of life, a more feminine approach. But like, what does that mean? Because what I really understand now is that I've been living my life in a constantly active way, constantly active, constantly doing. And now that does nothing for your long-term health, especially as I come towards perimenopause now and I'm heading towards that evolutionary phase of menopause. Like, there's no getting away from it, is there? It's there. Although I have heard that there are some people and companies that are trying to eradicate the menopause. Okay. No judgment, no judgment here. So yeah, back to the feminine. What is that? And I've always been I've always been a morning person. I've always loved that pace. When you wake up and it's like you got the world to yourself and there's no one there. That's always piqued my curiosity, that freshness. But when I look back, like looking at before I had children and actually when I had my first child, I used to feel that space. I was big into my yoga. I'm a qualified yoga teacher, and I used to like get up early doors. And I remember when I was studying to be a yoga teacher, I'd get in. I'd be up at 4 o'clock into Soho practicing, and then on to my corporate job. And then when I had my son Rafferty, before my husband went to work, I had to do my practice. So again, I was up at like 4, 5 in the morning, down the end of the garden, hour and a half, 2 hours of yoga. But it was always, and this is the thing that I've learned about the understanding of my practice towards yoga, because what I was inadvertently doing was actually practicing further stress and tension, because that's where my mindset was. Because I was always in the doing mode. I was always in the achieving. I was always in the progressing and elevating and blah, blah. There was always a reason to, because at the heart of it all, I didn't believe I was good enough as I was. I didn't believe that what I was in that moment in time was good enough. And when you've got that, I suppose it's like hormones, right? When you've got the excess of one energy, the dominance of that energy, there's never going to be great health, especially emotionally and mentally. It's what I found, because the more that I did, the more that I practiced. I remember I went through a phase of like of of being obsessed with these back bends and pushing and pushing and pushing, and I just felt so vulnerable constantly, because I was always in that doing phase. I was always in that having to be better than myself phase. And that's not feminine. That's not that feminine energy. When I look at, I'm hosting I call them experiences, because workshop is so bloody corporate, isn't it? Well, a workshop, it's a bit like retreat. I don't think women or any humans need to retreat. I just think they need a bloody good holiday. So I'm doing an experience tonight, and we're looking at understanding the elements. And I always come back to nature. I think this is a feminine aspect, as well as a masculine. But when I'm out in nature, everything makes sense. There is no need to do. And as you are observing this beauty, as you are observing this. I mean, I think it's magic being outside. I'm going to go meditate under the trees in a little bit. And when I'm there, it's just so magical. And I see that beauty outside of me and I see it inside of me. Mother Nature's this wonderful reflection. It's phenomenal. And it's an active part in my healing toolbox. The toolbox. Isn't it funny how we we link things to what we know? The toolbox, the workshop. Anyway, I'm going off. Feminine energy. Let me bring myself back. Let me anchor myself. So when I am out of sync with my feminine, life definitely becomes a lot harder. And there's no space to feel either. This is the curious thing. And this was an example yesterday. So I hold every Monday morning at 10 o'clock on the Project Woman Collective. We do like a tune-in, I call it, because I did call it the cycle check-in and people wondered if we was going to get on a bike. We don't get on a bike. It's about your menstrual cycle. Again, like these words, they're just guff, aren't they? They are guff. Menstrual cycle. And like we need like menstrual rhythm, a rhythm tune-in. So I'm going to call it a rhythm tune-in, where we look at where we are in our menstrual rhythm, where we are in our menstrual rhythm, and how we can create greater choices towards that. So understanding, like, if you're in day 21 of your cycle and you're starting to feel a bit down, you know that it's the change in hormones. It's not a reality. What can you do for yourself? What tools? What is it that you need? And generally, to kick back and have a little rest. And one of the women said, "I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling, but I know I'm not feeling that great. I feel like I'm walking on sand. It feels hard." Anyway, she was coming out of her ovulation phase. And what she was describing so accurately was the coming out of one phase and into another. The way she expressed it was spot on, because as she was moving, she was still trying to do everything that was active when she was going into a part of her cycle that was about easing off the gas, basically. But because she was so caught up in the doing, because she was so caught up in what we would say, the masculine, active side, she just couldn't see that change happening. She just couldn't see that transition happening. She just couldn't feel. And that's all she needed to do was feel. And like, I come back to nature and I come back to the elements and I come back to the menstrual cycle and I come back to the feminine energy. And we arrive at the ability to feel and to not feel alarmed when those feelings change. And as our wonderful Empower Her partner, Helen Calvert, said in her blog that she shared in the Project Woman Collective yesterday, we're not consistent. Women are not consistent, hold on, but they are consistently cyclical. If you look at your rhythm, whether you are menstruating, whether you are perimenopausal or menopausal, now there's changes there, right? As a perimenopausal woman, there's fluctuations. You don't have a stable period. And post-menopause, there isn't a bleed, but you still got a rhythm. You've always got a rhythm. You don't stop rhythming until the day that you die, and then that's a totally different rhythm. That is a global party. So we're always coming back to that rhythm. And it is always consistent. And if you look at that, you will see that you have habitual patterns within that rhythm. It's phenomenal. I mean, my biggest one that I found was the addiction to alcohol in a not very great way. Day 21, I'm smashing back 2 bottles of wine. That is definitely not feminine. And what that was doing was just numbing out, not wanting to deal with, not wanting to sort a load of shit out that was whirling in my vortex. Abraham Hicks, everyone. But I just weren't wanting to deal with it. And the greatest way of dealing with not wanting to deal with is to numb it out, right? But again, oh, that comes from not appreciating that feminine. And we are so fabulously feminine, she says, sitting in a dressing gown. Rather snazzy one, mother-in-law boy this. Wondering, I love these conversations about what it is to be a woman because really and truthfully, I never got told. But I don't think men really have ever been given the opportunity to truly delve into what it is to be a man, to explore that, to explore their feelings as a masculine entity, which has the feminine, and we know we've got these either side of the yin yang inside of us, but as individuals that step into these genders, there has never been any education, is there? But now we have this wonderful opportunity. And this is what I love talking to you about. So if you've got any thoughts, feelings, or questions, holla! Because like I said, this working class girl I don't know everything. To be honest with you, I don't want to know everything, but I do want to feel fabulous as me. And I do believe that I have the ability to feel fabulous within this physical body, as this emotional being, as this spiritual being. And I believe that you get to enjoy that until the day that you die. Why would you not? Why would you be put on this planet to suffer consistently? Just don't make sense, does it? But again, coming back to the feminine, because when we're truly in that place, when you're in that vibration, when you're in that communication, when you're in that conversation, there is no suffering because you just are in this sacred place of absolute. I mean, is it power or is it just presence? I don't believe that we've got to keep fighting, because if we keep directing our attention towards the fighting, all we're going to see is the fight. And when you constantly direct your attention towards something, you add the fuel to it, don't you? So perhaps it's time for a different course of action, a different approach, a softer, more open. Ah, that just feels so good, right? And on that note, have the most awesome day. And like I said, drop your comments, reach out. I want to know, what do you think of the feminine? Laters, gators.